How is Tanyusha? Valeria Demidovna asked when she met her friend, Natalia Pavlovna, at the grocery store. They lived in the same village, but they didn't meet very often. Each of them had work, households, and things to do. It's nothing. Everything is fine with my daughter. Natalia Pavlovna looked away. Any news? Yes, she's getting married. Well, congratulations, my friend. When is the wedding? Valeria smiled, waiting for an invitation. After all, she was Tatiana's godmother, and all family holidays were always celebrated together in the village at a big table. Tanya grew up, went to university, and went to live in the city, leaving her mother and grandmother behind. In the city, Tanya had an affair with Leonid, a rich fiancé with an apartment and a business. Natalia Pavlovna buzzed Valeria Demidovna's ears about how lucky her daughter was. Can you imagine? He spoils her. He gives her expensive gifts, takes her to restaurants. Is there love between them? Of course. Is he a good man? Have you seen him? Well, in a photograph. Natalia Pavlovna hesitated. When they come to visit, you'll call me. Valeria Demidovna smiled. She was happy for Tanya and wanted to meet her chosen one. But Tanya was still not coming home. She was studying. She didn't have time for us, Natalia Pavlovna said in winter. And in the summer, she found a new reason. Will they go on vacation to our wilderness? The rich go to the seas, Lyra. They don't have time for carrots. It's good. Tenekta has long dreamed of going to the sea. Well and good, agreed Valeria Demidovna. Time passed, and Tanya didn't come. And for some reason, she didn't invite her mother to visit. You go yourself, advised Natalia, Tanya's grandmother. I can't do that. What if I disturb her? Natalia Pavlovna was still hesitating, and meanwhile, Tanya had finished her second year and called her mother to tell her the news. I'm getting married. You're what? Natalia Pavlovna gasped. To Leonekka, Leon. All our relatives call him that. And Leonia is your grandfather in the village. Natalia Pavlovna swallowed her daughter's remark, continuing to ask her about the wedding. What can I do to help? How many people will be there? When? I don't know anything, Mother. What difference does it make? What do you mean, what difference does it make? I have to prepare everything, make arrangements. Uncle Pedya will bring meat from the farm, Aunt Lara. Natalia didn't finish. What Uncle Pedya? What Aunt Lara? Mom, do you think my husband and I are going to celebrate in the country? Who do you think I am? His shoes cost more than your house. Is he going to walk on cow cakes in them? Natalia Pavlovna decided not to make her angry. She decided that the newlyweds were free to choose their wedding venue, and she and the guests would adjust. 3 months passed after the conversation. Natalia Pavlovna waited for her daughter and son-in-law, but they did not come. Tatiana rarely called. She had no time. Every time Tanya had new excuses and reasons for refusal. And then Natalia decided to go to the city herself. She found the address where her daughter lived. It turned out that Tanya and Leonid lived in the very center of the city, in a large, beautiful house, which was impossible to get into. Who are you here to see? A guard stopped her at the checkpoint. Tatiana, Maltseva. Who are you to her? I'm her mother. What's the apartment? I don't know. I wanted to ask the neighbors. Do you know the apartment where your daughter lives? The guard looked at Natalia suspiciously and shook his head. I can't let you in. Call her, have her come out and meet you. We're strict here. You don't get paid to look pretty. And in the future, make a duplicate key for the magnetic lock on the gate. No matter how much she persuaded them, they wouldn't let her in. Natalia Pavlovna lowered her head and was about to leave, but at the gate, a large foreign car, from which came out a girl who looked like Tanya. But if it were not for her maternal instinct, Natalia Pavlovna might not have recognized her daughter. During the time of separation, Tatiana had changed a lot. Her lips had become very plump and her cheekbones had shrunk. Tatyasha dressed completely differently. Like from the cover of a magazine, high heels, a business suit. No one in their village wore such a suit. But Natalia Pavlovna didn't have time to rejoice, because her daughter walked past her. Tanya, Tanyusha, it's me. Tatiana turned her head. A look of surprise flashed in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by displeasure. She stopped and, under the guard's gaze, nodded to her mother to the side, away from the ears. Why are you standing there? Why are you here? I wanted to see my daughter. You should have warned me. I can't reach you. You're always busy and then unavailable. I don't have time to talk. I'm getting ready for my wedding. I'm here about the wedding. I wanted to discuss the guest list and the date. Shall we go inside? Natalia Pavlovna asked. I'm here for a minute. I have a few more meetings, so I don't have time to drink tea. Besides, Leon doesn't like it when someone comes home without his knowledge. As for the list, it's all agreed. Oh yeah? Why, I don't know. Because the wedding will be an insider wedding. And we then are strangers? Natalia Pavlovna flared up. Mom, don't start. It's a different life here. It's not a village shop where you have to go out with the whole village. Here they invite necessary, useful people to the holidays. Aunt Lara and Uncle Petya are not at our level, so don't even think about it. Don't embarrass me in front of my normal family. As I imagine that in an expensive restaurant, Grandma will come out to toast in her scarf and galoshes, so the body shivers. They'll laugh at me if they see such a thing. Anyway, I told her I wouldn't have anyone from my side but my friends. Okay, if your normal family is closer to us, then do as you please. Only call your grandmother yourself and tell her that she did not pass the dress code for her granddaughter's wedding in her kerchief and chintz sundress. Natalia Pavlovna barely held back from bursting into tears. She did not bring up Tanyusha like that and did not expect such behavior from her daughter. The capital had spoiled her, or maybe the rich groom and his normal relatives were to blame. At home, Natalia Pavlovna said nothing to her mother about the fact that her own Tanechka did not even let her on the doorstep. She lied that she had been at her house, that she had been given tea, and that everything had been wonderful. Tanyusha asked about her grandmother and lamented that she had no time to come and visit. Everything was fine, but I didn't catch Leonia. She was in a hurry to catch the train. I didn't stay the night, even though they called me. I didn't want to embarrass them. That's right, daughter. The main thing is that Tanya is well and happy, said her mother, sighing and adjusting the scarf on her head. And the next day, I met my friend in the village store. The wedding, I said, when? Have you set a date? Valeria Demidovna shook her friend by the shoulder. Are you thinking, or what? Or can't remember? There will be no wedding. They'll just sign and go on a honeymoon. Natalia Pavlovna lied. She was ashamed to tell her friend about what her daughter had done. What is it? Somehow not good. It's not right. Maybe the money's tight. Can't invite so many people? Valeria Demidovna thought aloud. We should invite them to our village. Our people are kind and helpful. We don't need much. We'll boil cold and bake pies. Ivanich will bring his specialty drink. Thanks, Ler, but it's unlikely. They've decided everything. Natalia Pavlovna couldn't hide the tear that rolled down her cheek. What they decided, you can change if you find the right approach. Seeing her friend's face, Valeria suggested. You come to visit, we'll talk. We'll think of something. Natalia Pavlovna nodded and, referring to household chores, said goodbye and left. A week passed, and Valeria Demidovna was still uneasy about the news about Tanyusha. She guessed that something was wrong in her friend's family, and a neighbor reported that Natalia had fallen ill after her trip to the city. She came to my daughter at the drugstore, dead or alive, 10 years older. Did they find a tumor in her? Don't talk like that, Lida. She's fine. She's just worried about everything. They say Tanya's getting married to a townie, but her mother didn't invite her to the wedding. They say that chickens are being milked, Valeria Demidovna said, and went to sort things out. She realized that she would not do without her help. It was a day off and Natalia Pavlovna was at home. Her friend was stunned. Nanasha, who was 5 years younger than her, now looked older than their grandmother. Lara? Hi. And we don't even have anything to eat. Natalia Pavlovna waved her hands. She was lying on the bed. It's okay, I have everything with me. Valeria Danilovna took an appetizer and a bottle of tincture out of her bag. A cure for moping. Get up, friend. It's been a long time since we sat like this. And there's an occasion. Tadeuszka's engagement. Valeria Demidovna looked at her friend and she couldn't stand it. Through her tears, told her friend about the true cause of her illness. They talked for a long time, thought, remembered how pretty Tanechka was as a child, and cried a little. Valeria wanted to reason with her friend, but Natalia kept saying that the main thing was her daughter's happiness, and she and her grandmother would live somehow. Okay, Nanasha, you're a stubborn woman, whatever you want. But if I were you, I'd go to the wedding instead of waiting for them to forget about you. She's young, and young people should be taught a lesson. Back off, Lara, my business is small. That's right, Valeria. I agree with her. My grandmother spoke up. Natalia Pavlovna thought she was asleep, but she heard their conversation. But unlike Natalia, she did not want to accept the role of unnecessary relatives. There's nothing we can do. The guards will take us to the police, and that's the end of it. And we don't want to spoil the holiday, Natalia Pavlovna sighed. What kind of holiday is it? Without us? No, Natasha, if you're ashamed of yourself, stay at home and I'll go. Natalia didn't pay much attention to her grandmother's words. And that's why she was very surprised when on the appointed day she didn't find her grandmother at home. My God, she had disappeared. Natalia ran outside and started running around the neighbors. We've seen your mother. She left for the city about half an hour ago by train. The neighbor said when she saw Natalia looking for her missing grandmother. Really? Why didn't anyone stop her? Why would anyone stop her? She's a sensible woman, capable. At her age, God forbid everyone should be able to think like that. Natalia started to call her mother, but she heard the ringing on the sofa. It became clear that the old woman had forgotten or deliberately not taken the phone, having decided to secretly go to her granddaughter's wedding. And then Natalia Pavlovna decided to make the trip. She quickly packed and went to the bus stop to take a cab. She needed to get to the city faster than her mother. There were no free cars, and time was running out. She had to go straight to the registry office. Natalia Pavlovna was sure that her grandmother had gone to the wedding because she didn't know the place where the banquet was to be held. But Natalia had the indiscretion to tell her friend, Valeria Demidovna, the time of the ceremony in the main registry office of the city. Her mother, probably having a good memory for her age, heard the conversation, remembered, and decided to attend. If only to be in time, if only she didn't get lost in the city. Don't worry, woman. Everything will be fine, the cab driver reassured her. What was her surprise when, jumping out of the car, she saw a lot of expensive cars and guests crowding around the wedding house. Among the mass of people, it was simply impossible to find someone familiar if it wasn't for that cherished handkerchief. Grandmother stood aside, modestly waiting for the young people to come out. She stood with her head proudly raised, wearing a smart dress and a parade-ready new handkerchief. But the most surprising thing was that in her hands, Natalia noticed a pot with a lemon tree, which had been growing in their house for a long time. Well, mother, I'll show you how to be willful, muttered Natalia Pavlovna, but she could not reach her grandmother. The doors of a large, beautifully decorated car opened, and she saw her daughter, the bride Tanyusha. The bride was good. A long white dress, a veil with a crown, and a huge bouquet of peonies. Tanyusha, exhaled Natalia Pavlovna. She didn't even notice the groom, how much her daughter bride had shocked her. She wanted to hug Tanya to go to her, but the photographers surrounded the couple, not allowing the guests to congratulate the young. And then Natalia realized that she had to save her grandmother before she got lost in the mass of guests. She snuck into the crowd and ran into a girl who had a name tag on her blouse that read Wedding Planner. Hi, can I help you? She asked. Are you looking for someone? Yeah, I lost my grandmother. She was standing over there. By the oak tree with a lemon, Natalia Pavlovna blushed. Ah, she and the attendant went to the courtyard where the ceremony was to take place. I have to go there. Entrance is by invitation only. How did they let her in? I don't know. Shouldn't you have? The hostess was confused. I'll check it out. She took out her walkie-talkie and contacted her assistant. Katya, you have a grandmother there with a lemon. Who let her in? The bride's grandmother, you say? Does the bride know? Meanwhile, the newlyweds have already disappeared into the courtyard. Young lady, you better take me there. I'm the bride's mom, and the daughter of the lemon grandmother. I'm confused. You let me go in there. I'll take the grandmother quietly myself. She's not violent. She'll take a quiet look at Tanya and we'll leave. We won't disturb anyone. Have you got an invitation? The girl was completely confused. I have nothing. I didn't think I needed an invitation to my own daughter's wedding. We're simple people. Natalia Pavlovna's tears came again. All right, on my responsibility. Let's go. Natalia Pavlovna was led into the courtyard, where the marriage registration had already begun. The dressed-up woman said something about family, values, and love, and Natalia secretly wiped away her tears. She saw where her grandmother was standing, but it was impossible to reach her without attracting attention. Natalia took a seat off to the side, where she couldn't be seen. The newlyweds exchanged rings. Tanya kept her eyes on the groom, and he looked at her. It was obvious that they were in love. Natalia liked the groom. He made an impression of a successful and well-established man. And now family and friends can congratulate our newlyweds. I give the floor to the groom's parents. A couple came forward. A woman in an evening dress and a man in a shirt and pants. It was obvious that the groom's family was not poor. Natalia felt out of place again and felt ashamed. She shouldn't have gone. Tanyusha was right. We are giving you a wedding trip, said the mother-in-law after the words of congratulations. And we hope that Tanya will be a good wife to our favorite son. Thank you to the groom's parents, said the host and looked at the guests. Unfortunately, the bride's parents could not be here with us today. Although, sorry, I am now informed that the grandmother is among us after all. While the coordinator was waving her hand trying to cancel the grandmother was not confused. More precisely, she was led out to the young people by Valeria Demidovna. Natalia gasped. Who, but her friend she certainly did not expect to see here. Conspiracy, she thought and covered her face with her hand. The bride opened her eyes when she saw her grandmother, and her fiancé stopped smiling. But the tension broke when the grandmother began to speak, and she spoke sincerely so that it touched the soul. My darlings, though I'm old now, I couldn't miss your wedding, Grandma said. Loudly, though she refused to use the microphone. The guests looked at the old woman with a lemon tree in her hands in surprise. Someone shook his head, someone smiled, and someone unhappily pressed his lips. I won't talk long, I don't know how. The main thing is to wish your family happiness, lots of children, and not to forget your roots. Grandma handed a pot with a lemon tree to Tatiana. Tanya tried as hard as she could. She couldn't help herself. Emotion slipped across her doll face. A tear rolled down her cheek. Thank you. This lemon was planted when you were little. Do you remember? Now it has grown and bore fruit. And you've grown very quickly. And you don't need us. Now you don't need us anymore, Grandma said quietly, wiped away a tear, and stepped aside. Excellent congratulations. For myself, I want to add, let the life of young people be sweet, and all the bitterness and acid remain in the lemons, said the host, and under the shouts of bitter, the groom kissed the bride. While Natalia Pavlovna was recovering from her mother's congratulations, the groom's father came to her grandmother and began to talk to her about something. Natalia almost ran to the old lady, grabbed her under her arm, and apologized. You will pardon us for showing up like this, without asking. We were just leaving. Where? You what? The main guests do not leave so early, smiled the father of the groom. It turned out that he did not mind that the new relatives were present at the wedding. Congratulations are great. You did a good job with the tree, he laughed. Some of the guests plucked a lemon and made the couple take a bite instead of a loaf. That's how Grandma's gift became a funny and touching moment at the ceremony, which most of the guests liked very much. And those who built themselves too urban decided that it was a prank as a show of freaks, and then asked the host where to order such a grandmother for their holiday. They were firmly convinced that the bride set it all up for the sake of hype. But the groom almost fought with Tanya. He scolded her for not telling them about the family. He finally met his mother-in-law and officially invited her to the banquet. "Thank you, I was wrong," Tatiana said, realizing that her husband and his parents took the news about her relatives normally. Natalia Pavlovna couldn't be angry with her daughter. She forgave her, seeing that Tatiana was happy. The family conflict was over, and on the slanted glances of the rich, Natalia tried not to pay attention. It was much more important to her that her daughter had found her destiny, and that now they would be fine. Natalia didn't even scold Valeria Demidovna for supporting her grandmother and going with her to Tanya's wedding. "If it hadn't been for you, thank you, my good ones," she said to her friend, while her grandmother was dancing with the groom's father. He confessed to her later that he had been born in the village and was never ashamed of his roots. The young people built a house not far from Natalia Pavlovna's house and often visited her and her grandmother. That's how it is in life.